Happy Halloween. So, what we're going to do for today is I got three separate videos I want to kind of make. And it's going to be like my Halloween special or whatever. I know, right? So, the first one, this video, I'm going to be talking about all the paranormal ghost stuff I've encountered. Pretty fucking scary, in my opinion. The next one is going to be a Life of Luxury video. And I know, maybe it's not that special, but I like doing them. I think they're funny. They're supposed to be like creepy, you know? And the next one, or the last one, is going to be one of the Nuke top fives or top 15 channels or whatever it's called. It's a YouTube channel that uploads like ghostly shit, like paranormal scary videos. And the shit actually scares me. I've seen the YouTube video before, or the channel itself before, and it actually like terrifies me. And I figured, like, why not for Halloween? Why not just, you know, humiliate myself? I'll probably get kind of creeped out. I don't know if I'm narrating it, maybe not, but we'll see. For this one, I've talked about this kind of stuff before in a video I've done like 2 or 3 years ago, but I'm going to go ahead and update it because there's a little bit more stuff has happened. And, you know, it's Halloween, so why not, right? Like, I actually love telling this story to people. I tell this story to people all the time. They always kind of stare at me like, what the fuck? So, I grew up in a house in Texas that was allegedly paranormal, very creepy. My brother, I remember one night, woke up in the middle of the night screaming that he saw people in lab coats in his room. I never saw something like that. But what I did, the first couple times something happened was, I remember I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and there was this little white ball of light floating around in my room. And I remember I stared at it, and I was like, and I just went back to sleep. But I never forgot that, and I know I woke up. Like, I don't know. I just remember I saw that. It, like, if you ever played Legend of Zelda, it kind of looked like one of the fairies that were flying around. Like, it was kind of like that. So, I don't know. I don't know what it could be, but it was definitely an orb. The second one, I actually got grounded, and this is the one that actually started creeping me the fuck out. Like, kind of turned me away from, like, ghost movies and stuff. So, I got grounded for whatever reason. And back in the day, whenever I got grounded, like, my dad and my mom would, like, do this weird shit where they would, like, take away posters and like toys and everything. You can't do anything in your room, which, I mean, it's not really a punishment because, you know, kids are antisocial as fuck nowadays, so us staying in a room is pretty much like a given. But I remember I was in there playing with Legos because there's nothing else I was allowed to do, and my mom asked me, do you want to go to the post office with her and drop something off at, like, maybe not the post office, but like one of the little blue mailboxes? And I said, no, I'm okay. And she left the room, and I just happened to look up, and I noticed the carpet in my room was being pushed down like something was walking towards me, invisible. Holy fucking shit, I just got like a surge of heebie-jeebies in my body just now. So that scared the fuck out of me. I ran out of that room, and I got with my mom, and I think I slept in her bed that night. Like, I don't know, I was like probably 13 when that happened. Like, right before high school. It's been like almost 20 years. There's in the living room, there's like a brick wall, and there's like a dark spot on the wall where it kind of looks like somebody got burnt. It's kind of like in the shape of a human, but not really. I can't really go back to the house because we don't live there anymore, so I can't really show what I'm talking about. But I always thought it looked like somebody got burnt right there, like with a flamethrower, and they just cleaned the bricks up around it or whatever. I don't really know. I do remember my stepdad. He'd always be like yelling at us, but he'd stop and like chase his head like that, saying he saw little kids running down the hall and just shit like that. I never saw that shit. Like, I think outside of the two things I said about that house, the scariest thing that ever happened to me is I was getting dressed in the bathroom one morning, getting ready for school, and there was a mouse inside of my pant leg, and I fucking freaked the fuck out. But that was me. That was my experience in that house. Like, my sister was talking about seeing fingers coming out of the air vents and shit, and my mom saw an old lady sitting in her chair in the living room when she came home from work, and she just shook her head and the lady was gone, and my mom was like, alright, I guess I'm just going to go to bed and ignore that. Like, just shit like that. Everyone else had like a story. I didn't really have anything outside of the two things I saw. Other than that, I didn't really see anything. And I used to be in the house home alone every single night, and I never got scared unless I was like thinking about it. But you know, that's just kind of like how paranoia works, whatever the word is. I don't really get paranoid. So we're gonna like flash forward a little bit. This is the big story that I tell people about all the time. This is my big ghost story that kind of opens up my perception to this stuff. So as you may have heard a million times, I used to make videos with my friends. We had Bleeding Rose production. There was like 14 of us at one time, when all of us were, you know, all together with the camera. And one of us had this great idea, like, let's go see where this hooker got killed in Paris, Texas. I wanted to film to see if we can find like an orb or something. So we go there, we don't find anything, and one of us had the great bright idea, let's go to the cemetery at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. So we do. We go to the Paris, Texas cemetery after dark in the middle of the night, which, you know, I don't think you're even allowed to do that. So we're like walking around the cemetery, right? And like, I don't see anything. We're all got our cameras out. The girl I was dating, her name was Hope. Like, she was like clung onto my arm because she was terrified, and I was just kind of like, it's okay, baby. Like, we're gonna get through this. Like, I didn't care. Like, I didn't think anything was scary. Everyone kept saying like, oh, I see an orb. I see an orb. I don't see shit. I got the camera. I was like reviewing the footage. I don't see nothing. So I'm like, all right, you guys are just full of shit. So we all get back in the trucks and the vehicles, and we all go back to my house. And it's after a little while we realized that we left my friend Matt at the cemetery, so we have to go back to the cemetery to go find him. And he's on the side of the road just kind of like this, and he's just kind of getting really quiet at this point. So we're in the back of the truck, and he's just kind of like doing this, and I'm like, what's wrong? And he whispered something, but I couldn't hear him. So my roommate Blake tells me he's saying he sees shadows dart across the street, and he sees telephone poles expanding and like subtracting, as if like there's something invisible, like Predator. You know, you ever remember that movie when, you know, like when he would walk in front of something, everything was like blurred out in the back? I don't know, it was just something like that. He was seeing some shit, and I was just like, yeah, okay. Like, I was on my phone, I was just like, And we get back to the house, and Matt's just being really fucking weird. Matt's being like really fucking weird, not talking or anything. And the spider lamp in my living room is like doing this. I was just thinking it was like one of my friends like messing with it or whatever, but now I think back, I don't think anybody was. I was just kind of like in denial about everything. Like, something definitely happened in the cemetery. Yeah, so like Matt's not talking, and then, you know, I was talking about my girlfriend Hope at the time. Like, if you knew this girl, she would talk so fucking much. She would like be clungy on me all the time and just act really, really cutesy-dootsy, but she wasn't doing it this night. She was just being really silent. I had just noticed after like an hour that she wasn't talking anymore. So I'm trying to get her to talk, and she just won't. She's like very unresponsive or whatever. So I'm like thinking like, oh shit, maybe she's going through some like shock or something. And she is also, I think she is still now, I'm not sure, but I knew at the time she was like terrified of the dark. So my bathroom in the house did not work. If we had to use the bathroom, we had to go pee outside or had to go up to my grandmother's house or something like that. We couldn't use the bathroom. The lights didn't work, nothing. The house was like depressingly terrible, and, you know, the house was shifted, and once you shut that door, you're stuck in there. And like everyone knew that. So she goes in the bathroom and gets herself stuck and starts screaming trying to get out. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, why the fuck would you go in there? So I'm like trying to get the door kicked down, right? And like I can't get it open. And then we finally get her out, and she like clings on to me like screaming and crying. So me being an 18-year-old not knowing what to do at this situation, I called 911, and I tell them like, hey, there's something going on at my house. I need some help. It's not really an emergency, but I didn't know what to do. I was a kid, right? So after a little bit, the cops show up, and I'm just kind of like, oh, hi. So I'm talking to the cop, and then Hope's out there, and Hope just starts like break down crying, and she's telling the cop something in her head told her if she talked, it would hurt me. So that's why she wasn't talking this entire time. And this is the part that gets creepy. This is the part that made me go, the moment she fucking says that, my roommate Blake, who could not have heard us talking to the cop because we were at the end of the driveway away from the house, and there's like 50 people inside the house, Blake comes running out of the house, runs up to us and said, hey, Matt, who's the one we left at the graveyard, said that she's not listening to him. Because remember, he wasn't talking either. So both of them were silent. And she broke down and started talking to the cop and telling the story, like something told her that, you know, if it hurt me, it would, or if she spoke, it would hurt me. Maybe it did, like all the emotional trauma I've gone through. I don't know. Maybe that's my own personal demon I gotta deal with. Who knows? Thanks, Hope. But the moment she fucking said that, and then Blake came out and said that Matt says she's not listening to him, that scared the fuck out of me. I remember, I don't think I've ever like really looked at ghost and paranormal stuff the same ever since then, you know. It's been kind of like a big moment. There was a time when I was dating a girl named Sarah. We were asleep in my bed. Everyone thinks we watched the scary movie the night before, and this is what tricked us, or mind mentally or whatever, but that's not what happened. We watched the movie Borat. It's not a scary movie. It's a parody movie. Everyone knows what Borat is. It's like pop culture at this point. But like we're asleep, In the middle of the night, something grabs her fucking leg and drags her ass out of bed. I remember I woke up, I was like this, like, the fuck happened? And so she's like screaming and freaking out. And I'm just kind of like, but I felt the motion like she got ripped out of bed. I felt that because that's what woke me up. So I was just kind of like, holy shit. So, you know, that happened. Nothing really happened. There might have been something in between. I don't really remember. So if I don't remember, it's not important. But since moving into this house that I'm in now, this is when some shit started happening. My grandfather, if you don't know this, the room I live in is where he shot himself. I sleep in the same bed where my grandfather died. I didn't really see anything or deal with anything for a long time, apart from like occasionally, like me and my kid's mom, when we were in bed, like we would feel the bed shake violently, like something was in there like doing this. But it wasn't an earthquake because like we tested it, we hung stuff up on the walls and like nothing would shake. So we're just kind of like, okay, so it's definitely the bed. Outside of that, I didn't have anything to go on for the longest time. So I work mornings, so I would like go to bed early. Well, Ashley would go walking around the kitchen at night to get her steps in because she would try to walk like 10,000 steps every day. So while she's out walking, she would start seeing shit because it's like 3 a.m. And, you know, it's like what Life of Luxury, if you ever watch those videos with me, there's always some shit happening at 3 a.m. So Ashley was walking through the kitchen one night and freaked out because she saw what looked like a homeless man crawling on the floor in the kitchen. And she shook her head like that and it was gone. And she's like, I think I'm going to go lay down now. Like, you know, come in the room. There was on the 4th of July, I think it was last year or the year before that. I had my kid. I was out there trying to show her the fireworks and she didn't like them. So I brought her back in the house, and when I shut the door, there was a shadow cast on my front door from inside the house. And I thought it was me for a second until I realized my shadow was on the right side of me on the wall because the light in the kitchen was shining over there. But there was a shadow on the door like something was behind me. So I was like, what the fuck? And I turned around, there was nothing there, and I turned around and the shadow was gone. And I was just thinking like, unless there was somebody in the backyard with a flashlight that cast their shadow across that way, which there wasn't, I don't know what the fuck. So that was obviously my grandpa, I guess. They've been talking about like seeing faucets being left open or left running all night. Like, you know, somebody went there, turned the sink on and just left it running. And I was just like, yeah, okay, that's obviously you. Well, here we have a bathroom over here that nobody uses. And I came out of the computer room one night from filming a video. This is like 2 months ago. I don't remember what video it was I was filming, but I was going back into my room. And in the hallway, I could hear the water running. So I opened up the bathroom door and the sink's running. And I'm like, see, I got goosebumps right now talking about this. I just turned the sink off. I was like, fucking nope. No, thank you. So I turned that off and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go lay down now. Which is why I don't like watching these ghost videos, because they do terrify the fuck out of me. So, you know, that happened. And the last paranormal thing, as far as I can remember of what happened, was, I've talked about this before, but it's when I had sleep paralysis. Anybody who's ever had sleep paralysis, it is definitely, without a doubt, for me anyways, the most terrifying shit I've ever experienced in my life. And it happened twice in a course of 2 weeks. So the first time what happened was I was asleep and I heard what sounded like someone had a staticky sound, like the TV. You remember back in the day, like in between channels, it would go in that black and white static. Well, it sounded like the noise was in my ear, and it felt like my body was decompressing, like all the air was like being deflated out of me like a balloon. Like I was sinking into the bedsheet as if something was sitting on me. But I knew, like as soon as I realized I couldn't move, I couldn't like do anything, I realized it was sleep paralysis, and I was like, fuck. I also felt like, you know, you shouldn't open up your eyes, but that's when, you know, that's when this happened. Now, take it, I never opened up my eyes, but I didn't have to, because the reason for that is, I shit you not, and nobody fucking believes me when this happened, but I fucking astral projected, man. I was looking at my own body on the bed, and I just remember I didn't feel anything, as if I was dead. There was like no emotion or anything. I didn't feel scared, I didn't feel calm, I didn't feel like joy, anger, anything. I just was just kind of like... And I also had realized when I was looking at myself, I noticed that Ashley was home from work. Again, she works nights. I was always asleep when she came home, but this is how I knew, you know, she was there, because I was looking at her. And then it felt like an eternity, but realistically, from what I understand, sleep paralysis is only really like 30 seconds at the most. But I remember I snapped out of it like that, and I was like, what the fuck? And I got up, I was wide awake because I knew what had happened. I was awake that entire time. So whenever I was fully conscious to be able to move again, I just sat up immediately. And I looked and Ashley was there, and I freaked the fuck out. I woke her up and I just like almost broke down crying, but I can't cry. But I was telling her about the whole experience, and she was just kind of like, what the fuck? Like a week or two later, it happened again. A little bit different this time, though. I include sleep paralysis as paranormal because of, you know, the astral projection. The second time that didn't happen. What sounded like I was asleep, and it sounded like somebody was chewing that chewable ice in my ear, and then the same effect happened. My body decompressed. I felt like something was literally sitting on my chest. I couldn't move, and the only thing I could do was move my eyes, but I didn't open up my eyes because I know better, because after the first time I started looking into this shit, and I realized there's a very common trope. Every time somebody who has this experience, if you open your eyes, you normally see a man in a hat in your room. And I was like, fuck that shit. So after that happened, I refused to open up my eyes. And it literally felt like an eternity, but after it was gone, I opened up my eyes and I sat up and everything was fine. Maybe 30 seconds into it, you know? You know, like after that, I haven't really had anything. I've been telling people these ghost stories and stuff for a while. The two biggest ones, obviously, the Bleeding Rose story from back in the day with the cemetery, and then the most recent one with astral projection. Like, those are my two big ones. What about you? Do you have any ghost stories? Happy Halloween. I'd like to hear about them. They're pretty interesting. I think they're interesting to hear and talk about. Watching them is a different story, of course. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in part 2 of the Halloween special. Goodbye.